So I'm here in Rio. Welcome to Rio. And I'm rebuilding life here. Maybe not Rio specifically, um, but probably Brazil specifically. You may not be able to see it really well, but Christ the Redeemer is right up there at the top of that peak. And you can hear the helicopters in the background doing helicopter tours. So it's a wild city. It's from here. It's really beautiful. Sometimes it's really loud. Sometimes it's just a boisterous child of a city, and sometimes it's a really calm, thoughtful grandparent. Rio is all of those things. And it takes some getting used to, for sure. I'm not sure exactly how long I'll be here, but I'm glad I've come up to experience it, and I'm going to continue to enjoy it at times, and wonder a lot about it, because every time you see something new, you realize how many more things there are to see that you haven't seen yet. Sometimes I shake my fist at it. It's fascinating to watch how a different culture, when you leave your country, how a different culture navigates in the world, like how they just navigate problems. Like the things that we fuss about as Americans are just not fussworthy in Brazil. There's just no time for it, and that's fascinating to me. Like people drive very different here. It's definitely faster pace in terms of that, but yeah, if somebody is like holding up traffic, usually there isn't much of a fuss about it. Nothing, the drivers don't really say anything. You just go around stuff. You just find your way around stuff. And if somebody's too slow, you just go around them. You don't shake your fist, you don't flip them off. There's no real yelling. They honk for communication. It's not even so much to be hostile. It's just to communicate, hey, I'm here and I'm going past you, or hey, thanks for letting me get past. It's interesting because it's just handled so differently. So yeah, I feel like I've taken, for those of you who recall Etch a Sketch, yeah, put it in the comments. Shooketh. Put it in the comments. But you'll know what I mean, where you've got an almost complete drawing, in this case, my life. And suddenly you decide, it doesn't have to be somebody else's decision, but you get to decide to pick it up and just shake the hell out of it and say, okay, I'm going to draw something new. You are opening a whole new chapter to your life. And some days it is so exciting, and you wake up and you are ready to take on the day, and you're just kind of like, all right, go ahead and show me what's out there, right? Other days you're like, I've got some groceries in the fridge and I'm gonna sit right here and just think about what I've done. Think about what you've done, because it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot for your nervous system to take on. People have been asking me, now that I've been away for a few months. This is the longest I've ever been away from the United States. The longest. I was in Africa for about a month years ago, and I have been to other countries, but never for as long as I have been now, because I had to get back to work, I had to get back to life, I had to get back to pets, and now, we're here. Me and my pets are here together, and we're trying this on. I was in Sao Paulo for several weeks and was trying that on. Um, but yeah, it's a lot to become accustomed to. Sometimes I feel really brave. Sometimes I feel really infantile. I mean, you don't know the language. I don't know the language. I'm trying to learn. I've been trying to learn. It's not an easy language. Brazilian Portuguese, there's a lot going on in Brazilian Portuguese. So it's going to take some time, and I just have to be really patient with myself. And, you're forced, when you're here, you're forced to practice a little bit, but it is true too, especially like in smaller cities. It seems that people are reluctant to engage you in conversation too much, even if they know more English than you do Portuguese, because they haven't had much time to practice, and that is everything. Like, they oftentimes know quite a bit in English, but they don't feel comfortable with it, and therefore they just don't want to speak too much. And I really began to realize pretty early on that I was making people, my presence was making people reluctant to speak English. And some people would be really excited that I was an English speaker or American. But the nervousness was visible. And so it was on me to try to continue to engage in any way that I could to keep a conversation going so that I could have the opportunity to practice speaking Portuguese. And there are times when I'm relieved. Believe me, there are times I'm relieved when I can have a conversation in English, because I don't get to have many of those except for with the dogs. But during those times, I'm also very aware that I'm kind of skating by. But there's so much relief sometimes just to have that for a little bit and then go back to practicing. But, in my day-to-day, as I don't know anybody, there aren't a lot of people to talk with too much. And so you tend to have a lot of the same conversations. You're practicing the same conversations every day because, you're going to go, hop in a cab or an Uber. You're going to go, you're just trying to get to a certain place. You say your code, so you learn, some numbers, and, a lot of the conversations are very much the same, unless you go to the store. And I've had cashiers, and it's been so cute, because it's happened more than once, where they completely close the line in order to help me to either find something or to try to navigate a conversation with me, because people really take time to have conversations here. And that's one of the things, as an American, I really kind of have to just chill at a grocery store. You're going to be there longer than you think, because the person in front of you is going to engage in conversation with the cashier. It is what they do. It is very much like what Americans used to do when they would go into a retail environment, is you would talk to people. And when I'm seeing it, I'm so completely aware of how unfamiliar it is anymore to see people really, I don't have enough Portuguese at this point to always know exactly what they're talking about or how familiar they really are with one another, because they are willing to take a considerable amount of time. It can be, an extra 5 minutes for them to chat it up. And I'm not going to step in and say anything about it. You know, I'm in their country, so if this is the way they operate, then I'm just here for the ride, right? Um, but yeah, it's fascinating because we we seem to be so far removed from that in the United States, and so I'm grateful to see it. There are so many things in Brazil that feel like a time that we don't live in anymore. And it's kind of beautiful. I mean, you get into a car and they might be listening to Brazilian, music, but sometimes they're listening to like old American rock. I feel like I've heard Tina Turner more in the last 3 months than I think I have in the last 3 years. But yeah, so like old like rock, R&B, a little bit of jazz, because they have a lot of their own Brazilian jazz, but yeah, just like a lot of like old school hip hop. And every once in a while, like I'll hear some of the newer stuff, but the majority of people seem like they really enjoy, and they like old, like I went to go get a haircut and the woman was playing very classic, Brazilian stuff from the 70s. She also gets to help one of the dance troupes for Carnival pick their music. So she got to play me that song, which was a powerhouse of a song. But yeah, there's this sense of living in a place that is what the world used to be, and there's at the same time, like simultaneously, like running right over the other, is this sense of seeing what it is that America is becoming. When I'm in the more urban areas and just watching interactions happening, or news break out in real time, and just kind of going, yeah, part of it's just being in a bigger city, right? But yeah, there is a lot of exposure to the kinds of negative adult experiences that children here have, and I don't even have the ability to communicate with anybody, let alone say something about it, do something about it. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting too, if like me, sometimes I can wear my empathy on my sleeve, and I've really had the opportunity to learn in the last few years how I need to really rein that in. And so being here, it'll learn you. It'll, you've got a different set of lessons, and you kind of really have to keep some of it close, because things here they just operate differently. Lots of dogs that live on the streets, but apparently people feed them a lot. They don't look like they're starving dogs, but they just kind of live on the streets, and the majority of them are pretty shy, or as they say, tímido. It's been interesting, the language learning too. I was talking to a guy that I met at the art museum recently that was teaching some Brazilian Portuguese, and he's an art teacher. And I was saying something about how the Portuguese here has a little bit of static in it because there's more of a shh to the language, incorporated into the language. So, like when I'm in Sao Paulo, eu não falo português, but here, eu não falo português. So I think that's really interesting. That a few hours away, just like in the States, you go to a different part of the country and you get a different accent. So yeah, it's been some fascinating learning experiences. It's a fascinating place. I'm out here on my balcony because I have an open kitchen. I've had to learn to not forget to put my produce away because my bananas and oranges and things like that will get stolen by the monkeys, and then I usually find the peels up here. So I'm like, okay, all right, well, I fed some wildlife today. I did my good deed. They stole my box of coconut water. Like, it was an unopened box of coconut water. I found it impaled over this railing with a hole in it. I'm like, how did they know? Did they read the label? Did it smell like coconut water? Like, it had never been opened. And they took it right off the table downstairs and brought it up here and popped that baby open by puncturing a hole right into the side of it. So, I'm right up here in the jungle with the wildness, and that part is pretty fantastic. I do kind of enjoy that. I can buy more bananas. So thank you for listening to my perspective on living outside of the country. I watch a lot of creators talk about how inexpensive or exhilarating or the dating scene and that kind of thing. And there are, definitely some beautiful people in Brazil, I think Rio especially. But a lot of my processing right now at the stage that I'm in, and again, it's still pretty new, a lot of it's internal. A lot of it is self-reflective, and I feel myself growing. I think that this will be an experience that will change not just my life, but it, and what my life looks like, but it will change me. And I think in a good way. It's definitely teaching me some patience, not just with the world, but some patience with myself. And it really, too, it does make you kind of focus on, really, what your values are. I was thinking about it today, earlier. I haven't shopped on Amazon for almost 4 months. I'm kind of proud of that, Not that I haven't thought about it, but I have my clothes. I can go get some groceries. I've been trying to not really buy much of anything because right now it's just, pack things back up and, move on to wherever your next place, your next experience of Brazil is. Brazil is a huge country, and the sun is setting. It's beautiful. It's a huge country, and it's every corner of it is so very diverse, and so, I mean, the portion of the plate that I have sampled is so small at this point. And so I don't want to get too locked in, because that's what I did in the States, is I would get someplace and that's the place where I would be, and I just made the best of it that I could. In my last lifetime in Portland, Oregon for a long time, and everybody that I ever knew before that said, you were never happy there, you never sounded happy there. And there were certain things that I enjoyed there, and I loved the fact that at the time that I moved there, it gave me the opportunity to have an affordable home. But I didn't really like Portland. People love Portland, and it just didn't work for me. Believe me, I tried for a long time. But yeah, so this time I'm going to let myself sample some different cities, have some different experiences. I'm really looking forward to meeting people that I can talk to more, and making friends. I'm really looking forward to making friends here. So, yeah. Let me know your thoughts, your insights, and hopefully you enjoy getting to hear something a little bit different about what it is to live, to take yourself, uproot yourself, unplant yourself, and take yourself to a completely different city, different country, different culture, different language, different food. Yeah. It's a wild experience. Thanks for listening.